The Local Women Travel Podcast is sponsored by That Prize Guy. Win big prizes daily at thatprizeguy.co.uk.
Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Local Woman Travel Podcast. Here today I've got Rosalind Mulholland, who is the owner and, dare I say, the most wonderful lady I've met of Ballyscullion Park. Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
So Ballyscullion, now for those who have never been there before, the listeners, please just describe, paint me a picture of Ballyscullion.
Well, Ballyscullion Park is on the shores of Loch Beg, so it's in the heart of mid-Ulster. The original house that was built there was built by the Bishop of Derry, who built Downhill and the Mussenden Temple, and he chose this beautiful site overlooking the loch, down to the Mourne Mountains and the Sperrins and so on. He never lived there. He built this huge mansion and it was dismantled, and then his cousins who inherited built the house that we live in, which is designed by Charles Lanyon, and it's a very sort of classical square kind of a house, but with beautiful views and lovely gardens.
And when you bought it, did you have a vision that it would become more than a home?
Well, it was bought actually by Richard's grandparents in 1938, and they bought it as almost really as a retirement home. He was actually speaker at Stormont, and the Mulholland family actually had the big linen mills at York Street, which is where we're recording now, incidentally. Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They bought it, yes, but not to make a business of by any means at all. But so we got married in 1984, and my husband was a farmer at that stage. So we were dairy farmers, and then we sort of diversified into tourism, and now we have a lovely wedding venue.
And you do more than weddings. I mean, there's events happening there all the time.
There are, yes. So we've just had a lovely Christmas show with RPNI, Real Princess Northern Ireland. It was brilliant. It's a lovely show, and we have our book festival now. So this is we're planning our third Ballyscullion Park Book Festival, which will be held in May.
And tell me, how did that come about?
It came about because I've always had a love of literature. My degree is in English literature. I love reading. We know so many people who write, who are just really interesting on so many different topics. So the first one, we just basically gathered up lots of people that we knew who wrote books, a lot of friends who wrote books, and that was the nucleus of it. But then as time's gone by, we've publishers come to us, writers come to us, and that's lovely. So it's a really joyful weekend of not just books but history and art and music.
And you were telling me you have a link with Jane Austen.
We do, yes. So my husband is Jane Austen's 5 times great nephew. The way that came about is that Jane Austen's, one of her nieces, who was called Cassandra Knight, married an Irishman, and he was called Lord George Hill, and he was the younger son of the Marquess of Downshire, who had lived at Hillsborough Castle. So they then came over and lived in Ireland, and actually lived in Donegal for their entire marriage, which was sadly short, but he lived there all his life, and then married another niece of Jane Austen. So he married 2 sisters who were both nieces of Jane Austen.
And the estate is absolutely steeped in history. So are there any other quite key moments in time that maybe people would be interested to know? Well,
I mean, it is Loch Beg, where we live, is one of the very earliest Mesolithic sites, and actually there was a bog body dug up only a year or 2 ago, and there's been lots of sort of...
Where did the bog body go?
Just about a mile or 2 from where we live, on the shores of the Bann. Really? And actually one of our speakers is going to be talking about it, and sort of in the context of Seamus Heaney. Well, Seamus Heaney, of course, would be a great local hero.
Yes, and Seamus Heaney, I mean, people come to stay at Ballyscullion. Seamus Heaney Visitors Site is very close by.
Yes, it's in Ballachy, so it's only a mile away, and it makes a lovely sort of activity for people to do, and of course it's a wonderful place.
What other visitor attractions are around the area?
Well, we are part of the Loch-in-Sholin Tourism Cluster Group, and that includes lovely accommodation. We don't have any big hotels. We have lots of lovely small family-run hotels. We have Brona's Bakehouse, and she does these amazing cookery courses in her beautiful sort of farmhouse kitchen. We have Friel's Bar. We have our Tara House, which again is a sort of old, I suppose, Victorian hotel. And there are lots of fabulous things on the ban. You know, there's Loch Ness Stories, and they have a couple who have many generations of fishermen in their blood, and they do these literary tours actually. So it combines literature and fishing, which is an interesting concept. And they take trips out on Loch Ness.
What's your sort of vision for the future for Ballyscullion?
I'm really enjoying seeing the book festival getting legs and getting more and more popular and more successful. These things, when you start out with a venture, it just does take a little bit of time for people to know about it and also to feel comfortable with it, because it's such a great experience. We have stalls and we have wonderful craft markets as well as the book things going on. And
with the book festival, I mean, I love books myself, but it would obviously be catering towards people who are new to literature, who are new to reading. What would you say to encourage people to come along?
The thing is, it's immersive. So you don't just come to one event. You come for a day, or ideally you come for 2 days, for the whole weekend. And every session there are 2 or 3 things going on. So you can think, well, I don't really like novels, but I do love a bit of history, or maybe I'll just sit this one out in the sunshine and listen to the music, and or look around the stalls, the craft stalls. So we have children's events as well. So the Sunday afternoon is all children's events, and we're running a schools short story competition this year, and for senior schools. And for primary schools, we're running a poetry competition. And some of our speakers, we've got some fantastic poets and authors. So they'll be judging and presenting the prizes.
Very good. That's great to get the children involved. And can you tell us about any of the poets or?
Yes. Well, our wonderful sort of star of the show really is Yung Chang, who's Chinese, and she wrote Wild Swans, several years ago now, which was really, it was the history of China, of sort of Maoist China, but seen through the lens of her relationship with her mother. So it brings it very, very close and personal. And she's just brought out Fly Wild Swans, which is a sequel. And again, it's brings it up to date, but it's still Chinese history seen through the lens of the family.
It's one of the first books I have on my shelf, actually. Yeah, still it's a great book. She's a big name to attract.
And Lionel Shriver is another big name, so she's coming, and she was famous for We Need to Talk About Kevin, but her focus, she's a novelist, but she focuses on topics of the day. So her most recent book is called Mania, and it was about the cultural sort of world that we live in, and how you can be cancelled. It's about cancel culture, I suppose, really. But she sort of turns it on its head and satirises it, and it's very clever and very funny. And then her next book that she'll be pretty much launching at the book festival is about migration, and it's a riveting novel about somebody who comes into somebody's household, and are they benign, are they not, and you never really quite know, but it's a great sort of mystery.
Well, let's talk about Kevin. That book was marvellous. I remember reading that, and of course all the way through you're not realising that it's the boy's mother who is obviously dealing with quite a lot, and not to give anything away, but it's one of the best written books as well. So that's marvellous. What are you reading at the moment?
I'm reading, I decided I was going to go back to the basics, and I read Brideshead Revisited recently, which I'd actually never read, but it had always been on my list. But the book, honestly, the pile of books beside my bed is about that high. Mm-hmm. I'm also reading a book called How to Murder a Man by Carlo Gabler, and he's actually our festival patron. And he's spoken at the festival right since the start.
Does your husband not worry about this title? I had a book, How to Kill Your Family. Oh, really? Of course, it was just a completely different book to what it was the title. But it was very interesting.
Well, I think Richard is safe because it's actually set in the 18th century in sort of I think it's sort of County Cavan. It's in Ireland in those times. So heavy stuff, but fascinating. But we're going for a bit of fantasy this time because that's so popular, and also crime and thriller writing as well. So we've got the big names, but we've also got sort of emerging writers as well.
So do you theme it then every year?
I sometimes mean to theme it, but really because the first one was themed around the 18th century house and, the big house and gardens and landscaping and things. Yeah. But even so, other things crept in, more sort of topical things crept in. And we like to have, we have a panel discussion. So last year we had Bruce Clark, who's an expert on Russia. We had Jamil Andalini, who's an expert on China. He's the political editor the European editor of Politico magazine. And we had Ramita Navai, who is from Iran, and she is obviously an expert on, and she's the most amazing woman. She's a investigative journalist, and she will go to places that no sensible person should go near, and gets the stories. She was in Afghanistan researching what was happening to all these women who've disappeared in Afghanistan since the Taliban took over. So there was a great discussion. There were 3 people who really knew their subjects talking about autocracy versus democracy in front. And you hear these talks and you come out and you just think, I can't believe I was there. I can't believe that these people were in touching distance and I can now go and have a chat with them over a cup of coffee.
Rosalind, Ballyscullion is the most fabulous wedding venue, probably the best in Northern Ireland, I would say. And it's steeped in history. I would say that gives it the edge as well. It's such an iconic building. What makes it special in your eyes for a wedding venue?
It is full of history. It's absolutely beautiful. I suppose that's the first thing to say. And being family run, it's very relaxed. So the big lawn in the garden, we want people to run around and play games on it. It's not sort of don't walk on the grass or anything. And I think that the couples who book, they want something that's relaxed. They want it as stress-free as possible. That's what we do. We're very approachable. We're very quick to reply. Historically, we have this huge and beautiful marquee, so it's very spacious, and then other areas too. So you're not only in the one area. You're in the historical coach house. You're in the garden. But one thing that I think really does set it apart is that the palace, that the bishop's palace that I mentioned, is in ruins. It was used as a quarry to build the house after they'd recycled all the usable bits like fireplaces and pillars and things. So what's left is a wall, a big wall, covered in ivy, and we call it the Palace Ruins because that's what it is, and it's the most beautiful outdoor setting. It's like a sort of a natural cathedral because you've got all these sort of tall trees that sort of meet at the top. So it's really lovely, and you're looking out over Loch Beg from there. There's nowhere else that has something that's as beautiful and anybody who loves woodlands or loves just the idea of the sort of romance of a woodland wedding, it just is perfect.
And you have accommodation as well?
We do, yes. We have accommodation for 36 guests. We have 6 cottages, self-contained cottages. And then we also have a really, really beautiful bridal suite as well for the bride and groom.
And of course, there are plenty of places locally if the wedding needs accommodation to stay.
Yeah, there are plenty of places, and we have a great sort of. My advice always to couples when they come to view is that the best thing you can do to make your wedding as stress-free as possible is to make sure you have really good, very professional suppliers. So whether that's the venue, your photographer, your baker, and trust them to deliver.
Do you have a team that you would recommend, and you have a wedding planner on site?
Yes, well, that's us really. So that's myself and Kathy and Cordelia in the office. So again, couples always know that sometimes with hotel management changes all the time, but with us, the person you meet is the person that is going to see you right the way through. And
do you have plans to extend or to add anything that we should know about?
Yes, we always have plans. So at the moment we're, this is the time of year, of course, when we put these plans into action, but we're sort of making sort of refurbishing, I suppose, creating a nice new outdoor cocktail bar. We have plans to increase the accommodation. And we also have plans, but they, in the pipeline for getting ready space for the bride. Because again, that's something that's more required now. It's for couples who get married that they can get ready on site.
No, absolutely. It sounds lovely. I can't wait to visit.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming, and I will come to the book festival. So tell me when it is and how can I get the tickets?
Okay, well, it's on the weekend of the 16th and 17th of May 2026, and the tickets are available on Eventbrite. So you can either go onto our book festival website, which is Ballyscullionparkbookfestival.com, or just go directly to Eventbrite and just Google Ballyscullion Park Book Festival, and there it'll be. And you can book day tickets or weekend tickets.
So I will hurry up and get my ticket. Thank you so much for coming in, Rosalind, and speaking with us today. I look forward to visiting, and I will look forward to the book festival. So yeah, thank you so much for listening and watching.
The Local Women Travel Podcast is sponsored by That Prize Guy. Win big prizes daily at thatprizeguy.co.uk.